It is week 4 for the Clemson Tigers and the biggest game of the season yet. So much on the line. High stakes affair. We're going to tell you all about it before the Tigers take on the number 4 ranked Florida State Seminoles on Saturday at noon. We're here on a Friday at Magnetic South Brewery in downtown Anderson. And we got a lot to get to. I'm Brad Sinkoff with publisher of allClemsonTigers.com, Zach Lentz, and our recruiting director, Mr. Jason Priester, joining us live here for the first time, folks. It's going to be an action-packed show. We're going to tell you what we learned about both teams coming out of week 3, breaking down the offense and the defensive for both sides with these matchups. We'll take a look around the ACC, and we'll hit around other big games in college football besides just this one, because there's a lot of them this week. And we'll play our favorite game that's sweeping the nation, Are We Smarter Than Zach? All of that here on the Week 4 preview show from All Clemson Tigers. The band is all together. Yeah. None of this, Jason on one screen, Zach and I on another, or 3 separate screens we've already done once this year. No, all 3 of us are here today at Magnetic South Brewery in downtown Anderson. Make sure you come by and hang out with us. Great beer, great food, great atmosphere, games for the kids. You can play outside. You can see that behind us. It's a beautiful sunny Friday. Gentlemen, welcome to the biggest game of the season. I don't think we could ask for better weather to kick things off. And speaking of kicking things off, it's going to be a huge one. Jason, your impressions of Magnetic South?
I'm glad I finally got to experience this place. It is as nice as y'all made it out to be. I'm glad to get out of the house for a week.
For a week, yeah. We're glad to have you here and make you a part of the show in person and be a part of the thing going on here. Before we get into it, and there's a lot to do, we need you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button here on the All Clemson YouTube channel. It helps us. It helps you. And we're going to be bringing you all kinds of coverage as we go throughout, not just today, but throughout the rest of this weekend with the big game. And make sure you go to allClemsonTigers.com for all of your coverage. You might see what we're wearing today. These are special hats made for us by our good friends over at HatFlowCo.com.
I love the Hatflow Company. Fire.
They really are.
I guess that's what the kids say. Yeah, they are fire.
Mine likes to say period. When every time something good happens, she says period. So I'm going to say period.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm partial to the all white. It's just a pure, clean look. But, man, that orange is sharp. You see our logos on these. We're going to be giving some of these away today here at Magnetic South. So if you like these hats, come over and talk to us here in a little bit. We're going to work on giving some of these out to you, the fine folks who are out here already at Magnetic. There'll be more coming in as we work our way through game day week. We've also got a lot of free swag. We got some T-shirts to give away. It's going to be a lot of fun here on a week 4 preview show.
Yes, it is. And you know what? We are the 3 best friends.
Okay, it got weird. It got weird. And we made it 5 minutes.
Fast.
5 minutes. Before Zach made things weird. We'll see how weird it gets when we play Are We Smarter Than Zach here in just a little bit as well. All right, let's get right into some football conversations here. Jason, I want to kick things off with you. Last week, we saw Clemson put FAU away quickly and early. Defensive touchdown out the gate. Cade Klubnik threw some touchdowns early. Things were really rolling for the Tigers. Bogged down a little bit in the third quarter. But what were your impressions of the Tigers? And what were your impressions of Florida State as they struggled to beat Boston College?
It was nice to see that Clemson offense come out clicking from the get-go. Didn't take a half to get it going. You know, I thought Cade Klubnik played his best football in that first half as compared to the week before when his best football was in the third quarter. That's what you want to see. That's what you hope to see tomorrow. As for Florida State, I think maybe they got caught looking ahead a little bit. Big matchup the following week here in Clemson. Made some, went up on Boston College, got off to a slow start, went up, then made some mistakes to let Boston College get back into that thing. But I tend to lean towards thinking maybe they just were looking ahead a little bit because that's not a very good Boston College team that played them to within 2 points, wasn't it?
Yeah, 31-29 was the final. And I really thought that Boston College was making some plays. It wasn't like Florida State just completely fell asleep at the wheel. BC hit some big plays. They get a scoop and a score to switch momentum over. And I think they exposed that secondary. We'll talk more about that Florida State defense when we get to some things concerning the Clemson offense and how they match up. Zach, I want to ask you this. When we left here last Friday, I asked each of you, is it a foregone conclusion? Is it an inevitability that Florida State's going to come into Death Valley and roll past the Tigers? Would anything change your minds? And the resounding response was no, nothing's going to happen this weekend to change anything. I'll ask you that now a week later after we have the week 3 sample size. Does it feel a little harder to predict than it did this time last Friday?
Honestly, I think that, nothing changed for me.
Oh, okay.
Even with, FSU struggling at VC, they are always those games that you don't expect to go your way. It was the
red bandana game. Yeah.
And they're always hyped up for that one.
Yeah.
And so, in Clemson, they came out and did exactly what we expected them to do. So nothing really changed. The outlook on tomorrow's game for me.
It does make it a little bit more difficult for me because I do think I saw some things in Florida State that I did not like. And then at the same time, Clemson, I don't know that they weren't perfect. It was the most complete game they played all year. And FAU, especially once Casey Thompson got knocked out, really had no chance offensively. I still, though, Jason, I think there's some things that Clemson did to build some momentum. You saw more receivers getting involved. You saw Adam Randall catching a big play down the field, something we haven't seen all year, seemingly the last 2 years to this point in his career. And then also, of course, Tyler Brown getting more involved in this offense, catching a couple of touchdown passes. Do you feel like the offense is at least somewhat rounded into a much better shape than what you felt like coming out of the Duke game?
Absolutely. I feel like coming out of week 3, this game is a little hard to predict. I don't have a good feel for it at all. I could see it playing out in a bunch of different ways, but I think Clemson's offense is coming into this game playing about as well as they could be when you compare it to the way they played in season in week 1. You want to see growth from week to week to week, and I think we've seen that.
All right, the magnitude of this game for both teams. And, what makes a game great is when the loser might feel worse than the winner feels good about winning. I think we're looking at that this week. Zach, there's so much on the line. You've seen Dabo Swinney coach a lot of big games throughout his career, throughout your career covering this team. Is this one of the biggest regular season games you can remember?
Yeah, I think this one is up there with the Louisville game, the Notre Dame game. I think this game is up there simply because Clemson loses this game and their chances for ACC championship are gone. Their playoff hopes are gone. Everything that you heard this team talk about all off season is out the window. So this is arguably, his hands down biggest game.
I buy a lot of that, and I do think that from the standpoint of we heard all offseason about, like you were saying, the national championship and getting back. And this is the senior class that hasn't been in the national championship and all that. And they're one game away tomorrow afternoon by 3:30, 4 o'clock of it being a dead dream, being completely over. Jason, the magnitude of this, when you look at just the narratives that are out there about Clemson, when you hear about, Dabo Swinney catching criticism for not using the transfer portal. He's going to get the transfer portal team tomorrow. The various things about his program that people don't like and pick apart, man, that's going to be just magnified to a huge degree if they lose this game, isn't it?
Absolutely. We've already seen some of the talk from the national pundits about how this program's on the downward trajectory. If Florida State comes in here and wins tomorrow, that talk is just going to be magnified. You touched on it a minute ago about the transfer portal stuff. It's already been a topic of conversation after the Duke loss. that will only get magnified now if they lose to this Florida State team who is, Mike Norvell overhauled this roster using the portal.
Yeah.
And Clemson does not have one player in it's too deep that came from the portal.
Oh, boy. I'm not sure I want to be on social media tomorrow around 4 or 5 o'clock if the Tigers lose this one, because it's just going to be a lot of harping on the same things. In terms of just, the Florida State side, it's a huge game for them.
Yeah.
This is a team that has not beaten Clemson since 2014. They've seen the Tigers take a strong grip on this conference, one that Florida State held for decades in this league, and now they want to wrestle it back. There's a lot on line for them. If Florida State loses this game, it's going to be a lot of the, same old Florida State. They haven't turned the corner. They haven't changed. That's who they really are. They're not as good as Clemson. They're so sick of hearing that. The fan base, the players, the coaches. I think this is as big a game for Mike Norvell in his coaching career as he's ever had. So when you mix those two things together, Zach, we can't ask for a better storyline as in the business that we're in. This game is up there with some of the greatest, like you were saying. But I just think that Dabo Swinney's got to have this game.
Yeah, and also if you think for a second that he has forgotten about that 2020 trip down to FSU,
The one that got
when
canceled.
they canceled the game 3 hours before kickoff. That's in his mind. So, yeah, this is a game that the emotions are going to be extremely high on both sides. The thing is, who can handle those emotions, who can coach through and make adjustments. And that really is something that we have yet to have to see out of Clemson.
It's a big game for Garrett Riley. It's a big game for Wes Goodwin. It's a big game for Dabo Swinney. We'll get more into those respective sides of the ball coming up shortly. Jason, I want to ask you this. You talk to a lot of Clemson fans, so I'm not going to shock you when I say they do not like noon games. I think that may be as factual statement as we make the entire show here. They don't like noon games, but do you think that's a concern, or do you think the Tigers show up and force the fans for this one?
I think that this Clemson team will come out very motivated. I don't think the noon kickoff factors in a whole lot either way with that regard.
The fans?
I'm talking about just the team.
Okay.
I get the fans don't like it, and I understand why they see it as a slight to being put in that noon slot as compared to, the primetime slot, when in actuality that noon slot is a national slot. It's routinely one of the 2 most watched games every week, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not really a slight to be put in that spot. They're going to put a national brand there if they are able to.
Okay.
And they also don't want to go head to head with Ohio State and Notre Dame. Let's be real.
Oh, I think it's a great move for, ABC, ESPN. This was a smart play to put on. You want to keep that, and they got to go against Fox. Let's not forget about that. Mm-hmm. They're going head to head with Fox's big noon game, and so it makes a lot of sense to put this one early. It just stinks for the fans who got to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, roll out to the tailgate spot, make sure you get all your pregame activities done in a short amount of time, and get in that stadium and be loud. But it's going to be a lot of FSU fans there. I've heard some stuff already. A lot of Florida State fans are going to show up for this one. All right, before we get into breaking down the teams, a couple other things. One, we're going to have a former Clemson player, Reggie Merriweather, is going to join us here in just a little bit, in about 15 minutes or so. We're going to have Reggie on. He's going to be discussing what he thinks about this game. Reggie will be with the radio team there for the Clemson Athletic Network coming up tomorrow afternoon in the Valley. So looking forward to having Reggie on. Stay tuned for that. The other thing, injuries. It will play a factor in this game tomorrow. We know right now, we've confirmed that right guard Walker Parks for the Clemson Tigers will be out of tomorrow's game. So they're down a starter up front on that offensive line. Parks missed the last game as well. He got injured in the Charleston Southern game. He was kind of nursing something already. Mitchell Mays will now step in for the second consecutive week, and we'll certainly follow how that goes between, just gelling up front on the offensive line. Still waiting for word on Andrew Makuba. You know, we've done our own research on it. We've looked into it. We've got a report coming up later this evening at 7 o'clock. It's our Inside the Valley over at allclemsontigers.com, part of our Death Valley domain, where it's for members only. We got some updates on Andrew Makuba. We got some updates on another potential player who might miss this game dealing with an injury. You can check that out over at allclemsontigers.com as part of our Death Valley domain. You want to join that membership. It's only $4.99 a month, and you'll get some of that inside information that we're going to share with you. Plus, Jason's got a ton of recruiting visits set up. Got a whole list of guys who are going to be there, both commits and targets, all on Death Valley domain. All right, gentlemen, let's dive into this before we get to Reggie coming up here in a few minutes. We'll start with the Clemson offense versus the Florida State defense. I'm just going to ask you both the same question because I want to get your answers. Do you trust Cade Klubnik tomorrow?
Not entirely. No, I don't.
Zach?
No. And I'll say this. I trust Jordan Travis much more than I trust Cade Klubnik.
I think that's extremely fair. Look, Cade Klubnik has been what I thought he was going to be. The up and the down, the up and the down. And until you can become a more level quarterback, until you can manage the game, not turn the ball over, hit the layups, do the little things well, man, it's hard in a big game to put all trust. He hasn't played in a lot of these. Jason, you followed his recruitment. You know a lot about him. I know he's kind of got that gunslinger mentality we talked a lot about last week, but do you think he can perform when he's got to in some key moments tomorrow?
I mean, he did it at the high school level there in Texas. You know, that region or league he played in high school, one of the toughest in the country. Played in some big games and had a lot of success, won 3 state titles. He's no stranger to big games, but this is a different kind of animal. This is a whole different ball game.
This isn't Texas high school football.
This is a whole different type deal.
That's free swag for you. Grab your T-shirt.
And no, I don't know that I trust him fully to come out firing on all cylinders and not throw the ball into coverage and not throw a pick six or not put the ball on the ground for the team to have a scoop and score. I'm just not there yet. We have not seen enough.
I am 100% behind that with Jason. Let me ask you this, Zach. The people around him, especially his offensive line, the run game is supposed to be the strength of this team. Are they going to take the pressure off of him tomorrow? Like, what's sort of the balance you want to see? How often do you want to see Klubnik throwing compared to getting the ball to Will Shipley and film off of?
I think that, if Clemson's having to throw the ball 40 times.
Oh, they're playing from behind if that's the case.
Yeah. So, I expect a heavy dose of Shipley and Alpha. However, the thing that intrigues me more is how are they going to help in the
in the passing game?
Yeah.
I think that's the area that I don't know that Clemson's shown a ton in. And I think you're going to start to see more involvement with those running backs, getting the ball out, getting it out quickly, getting them in space, getting them both of them, not just Shipley. We've seen Shipley catch some balls already. I think Moffitt gets involved in this passing game. And then I also think you're going to see Cade Klubnik much more involved in the run game in this one. If you're Garrett Riley and you watch the BC tape and you don't ask Klubnik to run in this game, I'm going to start to have some real serious questions about you as an offensive coordinator because that guy for BC, Castellanos, he ripped them off. He was making some big-time plays.
To me, that's the X factor in this game, Cade Klubnik's legs. I think he's got to have a minimum of 50 yards, probably upwards of 75 rushing yards if Clemson's going to win this game. He has got to make that defense account for him every play.
Absolutely. Blocking Jared Verse is a challenge for a lot of teams. Now, he hasn't put up a massive statistical season yet for Florida State, but he is a force. This is the best pass rusher I think Clemson's faced this year. No offense to anybody on that Duke front, but Jared Verse is going to be potentially a first-round draft pick in the NFL. Zach, do you feel good about the offensive line when they're in passing situations, having to keep him off the quarterback?
No.
Well, there you go.
No, and simply because, we have seen this O-line, have issues, especially at left tackle. I, and this is where I was also saying that Shipley and Rafa are going to have to help in
Pass block. Yeah.
simply because you aren't going to keep a guy like Jerry Hurst, off K Club and just going on. They're going to have to, double team and have to do some different things.
It's going to be a lot of pressure on that front for Clemson to consistently keep their guy, K Klubnik, clean. Jason, I want to ask you about wide receivers. Who do you think tomorrow steps up for the Tigers? Is it more of a group effort, or do you see one or two guys who have really started to emerge in that receiving corps?
I think it's going to be kind of a group effort, but I think Tyler Brown's got to have another big game. He looks to be the most dynamic receiver on this roster so far through the first 3 games. I think you're going to have to see a lot of him. I think Bo Collins needs to step up and have another big game, similar to the way he did against Charleston Southern. I think Adam Randall needs to be more of a factor. I think it needs to be a group effort, but I think we need to still see a lot of Tyler Brown.
Yeah, and I think that's really what they're going to have to do is get one of the playmakers. And he feels like the best playmaker on the team right now at that position, which sounds crazy to say. Where can Florida State be had? I was looking into this. Their defense has not been especially good against the pass, and they have given up a lot of big chunk yard plays. They're giving up 7.7 yards per pass attempt this year. They gave up 15 yards per catch to Boston College wide receivers last week. And a lot of it was just breakdowns. These safeties not seeing what was in front of them, not reading it correctly. A lot of slant routes, a lot of quick stuff. It wasn't like BC was just heaving the ball down the field and saying, let's just throw it up for Hail Marys. No, it was orchestrated stuff that worked. And then when the plays were breaking down, Florida State safeties and their linebackers seem to be just chasing the play time after time. I think Florida State can be had in that secondary. I don't know if Clemson can expose it to the degree that they need to win the ball game, but it's there. There's some weaknesses there. If they can take advantage of it, I think the Tigers can move the football in this one. All right, guys, we're going to run down the line here. I want to ask you this. Who, and you may have already given yours just with the last question, who's your X factor tomorrow for the Clemson offense?
For the offense, I think it is Bo Collins.
Oh, there you go. I like that one.
He's a guy that is a veteran of this wide receiving corps, and he has the ability to stretch the field and go up and get those 50-50 balls. I think he is going, if the Tigers win, it's going to because Collins had a great game.
Jason, who you got?
I'm sticking with Klubnik in those legs. I think that's got to be the X factor on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
Again,
I think you just have something for his legs.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about K Klubnik's legs today. Let's be honest here. I'm going to go with Jake Brenningstool. We saw him get a little more involved each week now in the offense. I feel like, and I may be dead wrong on this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it anyway. I think Garrett Riley has some stuff saved for Brenningstool we just simply haven't seen yet. You don't want to save stuff necessarily. I just got a gut feel they got some plays for him. All right, we still got Reggie Merriweather, former Clemson Tiger running back, coming up in a few minutes. He is on the broadcast team on the radio tomorrow for the Clemson Athletic Network. We're going to have him on very shortly. Let's move over to defense, guys. I do want to talk about a few things here before we get to Reggie. The defense for the Clemson Tigers so far this year, Jason, I think has been solid. I think you look at some of the metrics and the in-depth stuff, and it's come out really good. The numbers are strong. Is it fool's gold because of who they've played, or do you buy what you're seeing in terms of a dominance from this group?
I'm leaning a little bit more towards fool's gold right now, just based on who they played and what we saw against Duke. I'm not convinced this defense is going to hold up against this Florida State offense tomorrow with those running backs. I went back and watched that game from last year, and that fourth quarter was just ugly, and it kind of carried over to what we saw in the Notre Dame game last year. I just don't have a ton of confidence in that Clemson defense to hold up all four quarters tomorrow.
Zach, is the defense for real or fool's gold?
Yeah, I think that they are for real. I mean, you see guys like T.J. Parker, in the game, Root, Tyler Davis. That I think that the drop off from the first to second team is not nearly as bad as it has been in previous years. And honestly, I am fully expecting them to come out and have their best game of the season.
All right, I'm going to give the worst answer possible to my own question. It's both. It's twofold. One,
You suck!
I do think they're really good, but this is 2023. Offenses move the ball on good defenses at every single level. It just happens. So there may be an idea that there's some fool's gold when it's all said and done, but they don't. If they come out and just completely shut Florida State down, I mean, that's all we're going to be talking about next week.
Oh, yeah. My biggest fear is their ability to set the edge and keep those running backs in check in the passing game.
I buy that. But Florida State, I don't think has played their best offensive game anywhere close to it. And they put up 45 on LSU, and I still think they've got a long way to go. I think they can improve. I'm not slighting them at all. I think it's a compliment that they haven't played their best offense. They're averaging over 40 points per game. So Clemson's going to have their hands full with those receivers. We'll get into that here in a moment, but it's both. I think they are for real, but people might say it's fool's gold by the time that game ends. How important is it going to be to, I think, just sort of speed Jordan Travis up? You're not gonna rattle him. He's a veteran. He's been doing this for years, Jason. He's probably one of the most improved passers I have ever seen in college football. I mean that. Like he couldn't throw the ball from here. He couldn't throw to one of the kids outside, back 3-4 years ago. And now he's out there throwing darts to these frisbee catching puppy dogs they got at receiver. But I think this guy is so difficult. You're not going to stop him. Can you, if you're Clemson, slow him or speed him up and try to contain him that way?
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You can't let him sit back there and get comfortable, right? You have to pressure him. You have to, try to force him into making some mistakes maybe. And you have to keep those you have to play disciplined on the outside. You can't let those lanes get wide open for him to escape out in and make big chunk plays with his legs in the running game.
I think it's not just much about the running threat because they're not running him as much. It's just the pocket breaking down and him scrambling and then throwing the ball downfield because a safety or a corner takes their eyes off of their guy just for a split second, and these guys can run. Zach, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, these are scary receivers. Clemson hasn't faced anything like this. That's safe to say. Not many teams will this year.
Yeah, those are guys, you have 6'7" Johnny Wilson out there running around. Mm-hmm. These are guys if you're West Goodwin, you have to get creative with your coverages. You have to do some exotic things, hell over the top. And look, they're going to get there. It's just it's
inevitable. You have to let it happen almost,
Yeah, it's just a matter of after, having that short memory. And so, they aren't going to stop him.
Yeah, I would agree. I'll say this, too. I think Clemson has got to at least, stop the run game is a little bit much. I don't think Florida State's offensive line has played at a super high level this year. I think they've been good, not great, because they're 5 talented players, and they got 2 guys who've been out. But they've got talented players. They just haven't played a lot together, and we know that it takes continuity and repetition to get good on the offensive front. So if Clemson can get to Trey Benson and get him down in the backfield, I am worried about when Benson gets past the line of scrimmage. If those linebackers are on run blitzes, Jason, and they get loose a little bit there, I am concerned about that. That he could do some damage to Clemson's defense.
0-3.
But we'll see if that's going to be the case or not. I'll ask you this, Jason. Will Mike Norvell mess this thing up? We've seen him do
Yes.
We've seen him make in-game errors and go away from plays that just seemingly worked for 3 straight quarters. He's not the best of in-game coaches. Are you concerned about that? Yes or no?
I think it's a possibility, especially if it's a close game in the second half. I would absolutely be more confident in Dabo Swinney's decision-making in that area than I would be Mike Norvell's. Absolutely.
Fair enough. Let's bring on the All Clemson Tigers show our good friend Reggie Merriweather. You can check him out tomorrow night on the call with Don Munson and Tim Bray on the Clemson Athletic Network. Former Tiger running back. Reggie, how you doing this evening?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. It's a great day to be a Tiger, man. I tell you what, this fall weather is amazing. Noon kick tomorrow. I know the Valley's going to be sold out and going to be rocking. And like I said, man, exciting top 10 matchup.
Yes, it is, and I love the excitement in your voice. I can tell that you're just ready to get out there. You don't care that it's at noon tomorrow. You're going to be there bright and early, ready to go. Probably when it's still dark, Reggie. What time do you think you're going to arrive at the stadium tomorrow?
We're going to try to be up and out of here by 7 to get there at 8. So we got plenty of time to watch game day and all that to get ready for the big game.
I hear you, man. All right, before we get into the game, Reggie, I want to start out with Florida State, the rivalry, the hate week, as people like to call it. Do you have some fond memories of playing the Seminoles, whether it's just some memories in general, maybe some positive, some not so great?
Well, I tell you what, one of the most positive things that sticks out of my mind is going to be my my senior year going down there and winning. Will Partner was the quarterback. James Davis had the kind of game-winning run to get us down there, and we ended up kicking a field goal and winning that game. So that's a fond memory down there in Tallahassee. I can also remember Charlie Whitehurst scrambling down the left sideline and scoring a touchdown too, man, to kind of ice the game. But, the shoe's definitely on the other foot when you start talking about Clemson, winning 7 in a row now. So it's, pretty cool little deal. We've been winning ever since they, beat us back in 2015 when it was almost, 50-something to 10 there in the Valley. So not so good memory there. But, again, like I said, we've recruited well. Dabo Swinney's a great head coach. We've got Riley as a coordinator now. And it kind of gives you a little hope seeing that BC almost put up 500 yards of offense on this defense. So as long as Cade and this running back group can move the football, I think they'll be fine.
Reggie, you've seen a lot of big games at Clemson under this Dabo Swinney era. This one feels pretty doggone large when you're considering all that's at stake with both the ACC still in play and trying to chase that, but also just, all the narratives and things that are out there about Coach Swinney in this program. I'd say it's a really big game for him. Do you have that same kind of feel to it heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody who's a fan can see, anybody who's a fan of college football can see, this team has, a rich history of the last pretty much decade. And when you start looking at powerhouse teams, Clemson has been out of the last 2 college football playoffs, but they've also won 2 national championships in the last, 5 years. So they've got the pedigree and they've got everything they need for a rich tradition. But when you start looking at the roster now, we don't have that killer instinct at wide receiver. And I feel like we're missing a couple pieces on defense as well for that national championship run. So not taking anything away from the team, but it just looks like we were putting guys out in 2016 when we won it. And now that team compared to this team now, it just seems like we're skimming by, if that makes sense. So, again, I fully agree that this is a really huge game, not only for ACC, but to keep your national hopes alive for the last college football playoff.
All right, Reggie, let's talk about the game itself, some of the X's and O's stuff. Cade Klubnik, a guy you've seen now progress to what level? I mean, how would you assess how he's played the first 3 games this season, and how good do you feel about him going into week 4?
Well, I tell you what, he kind of looked like a true freshman at some points in time, but I tell you what, that last game we played in the Valley against Florida Atlantic, I think he grew up a little bit. I don't know if they simplified the play calling of the game plan, but he looked comfortable. The offense looked better, and I think he made the right read. And he just, like I said again, he looked comfortable in the pocket. One of the biggest things I see as a fault for him, staring down receivers, and instead of stepping up in the pocket, evading the rush, he still has that kind of, I got to get out. So he rushes out the back of the pocket instead of stepping up and running. So you're either going to do one or two things. You're going to step up to create, or you're going to step up to run away. Either way, you have to be smart in the pocket and make the right decision. And so he did that last week. Now, he did have a couple of ill-advised passes. Can't have that this week. But, again, I think the smart thing is simplify the playbook for him, lean on the running game, and just tell him relax, take what the defense gives you.
That's easier said than done. You know how it is when you're back there in the backfield and you see everybody coming at you and you know what's about to happen. Reggie, let me ask about the running game real quick here. Phil Maffa, Will Shipley, have you liked the usage, the splits between those two, and then just how impactful can they be and play a huge role in what Clemson wants to do tomorrow?
Well, the two best players on offense both play running back. Having them on the field at the same time, I think, has been a really good idea for Clemson. They're able to basically put Maffa in the slot or use him as a pass back, and then you have the heavier Maffa back there at 220, 230, being able to tote the load between the tackles and run some guys over and make some miss. So I think, again, man, it's a really good concept. We're able to push the ball downfield with both the running backs back there as well. So I would like to see a lot more of that. And then on top of that, too, I think, again, Shipley on the outside and Maffa up the middle getting hard carries, I think that's the recipe for success.
Wrapping up things here with Reggie Merriweather, former Clemson Tiger running back, and you can catch him tomorrow afternoon on the broadcast for the Clemson Athletic Network. Reggie, defensively, what matchup concerns you most? Is it trying to stop that run game with Trey Benson? Is it those receivers on the outside that cause so many problems? What do you see as the key for the Tiger defense?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything. Because you think about it, man, that offense right there, they've been so good with Jordan Travis as a quarterback, man, getting out of the pocket and making plays with his feet. If they can find some way to stop the run and mitigate him getting upfield, using his legs, man, I think Clemson comes away easy with the W. But, again, having Travis back there with the wheels that he's got, man, and the arm, and they obviously, like I said, again, they've returned back 80% of their offense from last year. So it's just going to be really hard to keep an eye on the running back, tight end, and that good wide receiver that they have. But, again, defensive ends don't get too far upfield, spy the quarterback, make him beat you with his arm. And he's a good quarterback, but, again, he hasn't thrown for over 300-something yards in a game yet. So I would expect for him to, try to use his legs and do different things. So if they can somehow, mitigate him from running, I think we'll be fine.
Reggie, I can't thank you enough, my friend, for your time today. Your insight is always so on point, and we really enjoy you breaking this down for us. And tape up those ankles, get that biscuit, get there early in the morning, be ready for that noon kickoff.
Oh, yeah, weather's going to be gorgeous tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's going to sell out crowd. So, again, for all the marbles tomorrow, noon in the Valley, ACC, it's going to be on.
Can't wait. Reggie, best of luck on the broadcast tomorrow, my friend. Take care, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Reggie. Reggie Merriweather bringing it today for us. We really appreciate him. Week 4, Florida State week. Got to get a big name on there, Jason. We hit the celebrities up this week.
Man, that guy looks like he could lace them up and play tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Well, I appreciate his time and breaking that down for us. All right, gentlemen, let's get back at it here before we wrap things up ourselves. Still a few things to get to, but I want to remind you to go to allclemsontigers.com all weekend long. We're going to have a ton of news. We're going to have a ton of updates. We're going to have what's going on at the game tomorrow, both pregame and postgame. You don't want to miss that. We've got, again, the Death Valley domain, the Inside the Valley going up later today. A lot of recruiting stuff, Jason, to keep an eye on. You'll be coming out of this one, I think, talking to a lot of guys. There's going to be a lot of visitors out there on the sidelines tomorrow. So all of it comes on allclemsontigers.com all weekend.
Absolutely. I have hopefully already got lined up several guys to talk to next week. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully. All right. Real quickly here, we got to move on to special teams. It could probably deserve its own show, not its own segment, but we have a lot of things to get to. But but I do got to bring it up. It's been a wacky week. Dabo Swinney goes out and gets Jonathan Whites off the beach in Charleston, brings him back to the team, former walk-on, wasn't going to win a job this year, didn't want to play for the Tigers, wanted to go to grad school, finish his MBA, go up to New York and get a job, and instead – guys, he may be on the field kicking a potential game winner tomorrow. How do you feel about that, Zach?
Let's hope not.
Dabo Swinney says it's going to be the best thing ever, or it's just going to be terrible. There's no in between.
A couple of years ago, he went to the grocery store and got Greg Hugh. Now he's going to the beach in Charleston. Not sure how I feel about that. I mean, this is a guy that has not kicked competitively in over a year. And so, if you ask me if this comes down to a field goal, I have to say,
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That was a live clip of Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
Someone just asked him that exact question, and that was him. That was not Michael Scott. Let me ask you this, Jason. Ball finds a way, right? I mean, we've seen this a million times. Would you be shocked if this came down to a situation where it's either a short field goal with Jonathan Whites or a long field goal with Robert Gunn III to win the game? That's just how destiny is.
I think that's exactly what Dabo Swinney meant by it was going to be great or it's going to be terrible because he knows how likely it is to come down to a field goal at the end and needing that field goal to win it. And it will be interesting to see exactly where that cutoff line is, where they decide to go with Whites or decide to run Gunn out there.
All right, let's get on to our ACC segment. We're going to talk about some games from around. I mean, this is the marquee game of the league for the season potentially. Is that fair to say? Clemson, Florida State, probably for the league. But there are some other games that at least keep an eye. We're finally going to get some conference games. We kind of void of that. NC State takes on Virginia. You got Boston College and Louisville, Georgia Tech, and Wake Forest. And the game I'm intrigued by, North Carolina and Pitt. We've seen Pitt transform itself into a bad football team. I don't know how you do that. Like you have Kenny Pickett, you throw the football around to Jordan Addison, two guys in the NFL, and you go away from those ideas and try to play 2005 football. Jason, I think North Carolina's going to roll this team tomorrow.
I do too. And I picked Pitt to finish third in the league, if I'm not mistaken, back in Charlotte. So that tells you how I thought Pitt was.
You suck!
Third from the bottom or the top?
From the top.
You suck!
It might need to change out of the bottom now.
I mean, I thought this was going to be a good Pittsburgh team, but it has just not worked out. But this is going to be a good test for North Carolina. Make sure they're not, like we talked about with Florida State and Boston College earlier, not looking ahead the next week, not overlooking a bad team. Great teams don't overlook opponents for the most part.
Zach, I can't help but chuckle when I look and see Duke and UConn, and it's not a basketball game. This is not Jim Calhoun and Coach K going at it. This is Jim Mora Jr. and Mike Elko. That's going to be a weird game tomorrow.
Yeah, that is ACC football is fine.
And on the road at UConn.
Oh, boy, that's going to be a weird one. Other than that, does anything intrigue you? Boston College, Louisville, Georgia Tech, Wake, NC State, Virginia. What stands out?
No.
No, just no on all those.
Shoot. They are at Syracuse.
They do play the Tigers next week.
This is as good as a national slate as we had this week with 7 ranked teams playing each other.
Yeah.
The ACC sucks this week.
Well,
outside of that Clemson-FSU game, the ACC absolutely sucks. There is no intriguing games. Give me the kids out playing in the yard over this crap. ACC's garbage this week.
I did my best to try to figure out a way to make that an intriguing segment, and really Zach just summed it up with those exact words. All right, let's talk about some national games of the week. This is fun. We have been waiting, Jason, now for 3 weeks to get to this point here in week 4 where we have some real matchups. A lot of teams are done playing the quote-unquote gimme part of their schedule. So what game are you most intrigued by that isn't Clemson and Florida State from a national standpoint this week?
How about Ohio State, Notre Dame?
The big one, baby.
Yeah, the big one. I am interested to see Sam Hartman against that Buckeyes defense. And can Notre Dame, get a win in that game? They're at home, protecting that home turf. That's the one I will have my eyes on the most.
There's too many people drinking the Notre Dame Kool-Aid, y'all. I just don't get it, okay? Yeah. Ohio State on a short number of -3. Why would I not take Ohio State getting a short number? I know Sam Hartman looks good against tomato cans. I know that their offensive line's blocked nobody. This is one of the most talented, if not from roster top to bottom, talented teams in all of college football. They may not have the quarterback advantage with Kyle McCord, but Ohio State is a juggernaut. Notre Dame has not been hit the way that Ohio State's going to hit them. I don't understand all this love for Notre Dame just because they're 4-0 and they beat a bunch of teams that everybody in the country should beat.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand either. However, I am looking at Colorado, Oregon.
Biggest story in college football.
Yeah. However, Coach Dion is going up to Oregon, to Eugene, and they are 21-point dogs. So, that tells me Vegas knows something. Also, Ole Miss, Alabama.
Well, hold on. Let me interrupt real quick. I can tell you what tells me something. Deion Sanders has not talked smack to Oregon this week. He talked smack to Colorado State.
Yeah.
He talked smack to TCU. He talked smack to Nebraska. He hasn't said a prime has been silent.
That's because he knows
Oregon.
He's about to go out there and get his ass kicked.
That's exactly what he's going to – he knows what's going to happen.
I just want to know, has he learned his center's name yet?
Yeah, if you missed that earlier in the week, they asked about his center. And he said, who? He had no idea. He thought like came in and played well. Who?
He didn't have a clue who he's talking about.
He's never said a word to that young man in that young man's entire life. Alabama and Ole Miss, you mentioned them as well, Zach. I think that's one that we got to pay close attention to. Is there a better opportunity to beat Nick Saban than what Lane Kiffin has in front of him?
No. This is an Alabama team that is struggling. They got handled by Texas. And also, Nick Saban doesn't know who his QE is. There are issues there.
Yeah.
And so, but there are good games lined up throughout the night. You can go. You have Iowa, Penn State. You have Cal, ACC. Going
They're going to get
to
smoked. They're going to lose
Washington.
by 40 in this game.
So if Alabama loses tomorrow, they're kind of sitting in a similar position as the Clemson. If Clemson were to lose tomorrow,
Yeah,
are the
season's
narratives
over.
about Alabama the same as the narratives about Clemson?
You know what? There are more people questioning Nick Saban than we've ever seen before. He is getting some of the same things that Dabo Swinney's gotten over time. So we'll see if that continues. All right, gentlemen, let's play our favorite game of the week to wrap up the show here. All right, this is how this is played. Jason and I collab. We try to come up with a bunch of scenarios. We throw them at Zach. He tells us if we're the
And
most
like a lot
brilliant
of us
people
are
on
really
earth,
smart. I'm really smart.
or are we the dumbest people on earth? So that's what we're going to play here. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, we don't need to skip around this one. Let's hit it up right now. Will Clemson cover the 1.5-point underdog spread? Now, this line is kind of weird. Back before week 3, you could have gotten this line at about 3.5 if you'd taken the Tigers. That's a key number. Yeah, that's a big number. That's a key number. Now it's down under a field goal. I don't really care if it's 1.5 or 2.5. It doesn't change a lot for me. But there is some fluctuation in this one. Jason, how do we feel about this?
I don't think they cover the number.
You think they lose outright, so it doesn't matter the number.
I think they lose outright.
Can they lose by 1? Probably not.
It's possible.
Jonathan Weiss misses a field goal to lose the game.
It's possible, but if they're going to lose by that close, I think it'll be by 2.
I'm with you on that one. We're both in agreement of Clemson not covering the spread. Give us Florida State.
Yeah, give me FSU outright.
Yeah, I think they win this one. I don't want to say comfortably. I mean, really, let's share our quick thoughts on this. How do you think this plays out, Jason?
I think it's going to be a competitive game. I just think Klubnik is going to make one of those mistakes that hurts this team, and they end up losing by a touchdown.
And Jordan Travis doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Zach.
Yeah, I think that ultimately, Jordan Travis and what he can do with his legs and improvising is going to, ultimately, cause Clemson's downfall.
3 things that I pay attention to in college football, 3 stat areas that are really important to me. And you can use stats however you want to shape them. I care about turnover margin. I care greatly about explosive plays. Are you making more than you're giving up? And what you do in the red zone. And I think Clemson's got to be too good in all 3 of those areas. And I don't think they win all 3. I think they can win 1. Maybe they can win 2, but I don't think so. I think they lose 2 of those 3 areas, and that's why they lose. And the one that concerns me the most is red zone. You cannot rely on field goals in this game. You have got to put the ball in the end zone, and my concern is the Tigers aren't going to be able to match Florida State in that category. All right, let's get to some other ones here. Over, under 55, Jason.
I'm going under.
I like the over. Zach,
Yeah.
I'll for Jason say under.
No.
You suck.
No,
You and I
y'all,
are on the same page.
y'all suck.
No, I'm saying over in this
All
game.
right, so yeah, it's going to be over because FSU is going to score and Clemson is going to score.
I agree.
Just
Some
not
touchdowns in this
enough.
one. All right. How about this one? We do this every week now. I think we've been off every single week. Cade Klubnik over 225 and a half passing yards in this one. Jason, what do you think? Should we go under here? Probably should go under here, shouldn't we?
Yeah, this was a hard one, but I'm leaning under.
Under.
Are you out of your freaking mind?
Yeah. See, here's the issue. Clemson is going to be playing from behind, and so it's going to force Chloe
Okay.
to throw the ball. I think you end up seeing his numbers and play similar to the Tennessee game last year.
Okay. I buy the line of thinking. I just don't know they're going to let him put the ball in the air. He could throw the ball 40 times and not get a 225 passing yard, Jason.
I also don't think they're going to be that far behind and playing that kind of catch up.
Fair enough. All right, how about this one?
Surrounded by idiots.
Maybe so. Who do you think leads the team in rushing tomorrow? Will Shipley or Phil Moffitt?
This is another good one.
I tried to make it hard this week. Not gonna lie.
I'm going to go with Moffitt.
I'm on board with you there. I also agree with Moffa.
I think so.
We had our first unity pick.
Yes,
I like that. Are we, man? Maybe this is a question for a different day. I'm still going to throw it out there because I simply don't care. There's so many storylines this week. Is Phil Moffitt the real starting running back on this team? I don't care who comes out first. I mean, has he all looked better than Shipley this year so far?
To me, he has.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he is the better all-around running back.
I agree.
I think he's had a better season so far. I know it's a small sample size. All right, how about this one? Who leads the team in receiving this week? Who do you want to go with? Your boy Tyler Brown? That's a lot.
How about Brenningstool?
You want to go with Brenningstool? You think he has a better game than Collins and Brown, and Williams?
It's time for him to step up.
I'm with you. We're going to go Jake Brenningstool.
I think the FSU corners.
Oh, man. You did not just say that.
No,
Man.
I have to go with, I'm going with my
Your X Factor guy?
Yeah, I'll go.
Bo?
I'll go.
Bo time.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We'll let you go that one. Florida State touchdowns, 3.5 over under.
Going by the prediction I'm making, I'm going under.
Man, I like the over. I know Zach's over. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go tell Jason how wrong he is. Let him know.
You suck.
Yeah. I agree. How about this one? Does a Clemson defensive lineman get a sack in this game? Where XT and Maskell hadn't been doing it. TJ Parker had one last week. He's the backup, according to Dabo Sweeney.
It would have to come from an interior guy, right?
It's going to be Rook or Davis or Peter Woods. So yes or no? What do you want to go with there?
They get one.
All right. Hey, Travis is scrambling around trying to throw, and Woods gets him on the ground. How about that? All right. Yes, a defensive lineman does record a sack.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we're in agreement on that one. We'll unity. All right. Does the Clemson defense force 1.5 turnovers? Over under?
Under.
You don't think this is going to be a turnover game? Not like that. Hey, the last 2 weeks have been really good.
I don't think
number.
Florida State's going to make that many mistakes.
I tend to agree. I'm going to go under as well.
You are fake news.
Do you think the defense forces 2 turnovers in this game? Okay.
Yeah.
I say 1, and even that may be a little iffy. Number of Clemson turnovers on the offensive end in this game, 1.5.
Over.
God, we are painting a horrible picture for this game.
I know, right? People are going to hate us.
I know. I'm glad we're doing this at the end of the show because this is not great.
Yeah.
All right, so you're over on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad is not going to want to watch this show. Or actually, this may let the team watches, tonight instead of a movie.
Last one before we wrap this thing up and put a bow on this Week 4 preview show. I'm just going to throw it up there on the screen real quick. If I can get it to work. There we go. Will there be a frosty handshake at the end of the game? Will we see Norvell and Dabo embrace, or will it just be a quick, good game? See you later.
I think you'll see Dad give Norvell.
No, he's not going to do that. Is he going to Mac Brown him? Does he grab him by the throat?
Yeah.
No embrace, though. No embrace.
No embrace. Okay, so a little frosty. No matter who wins this game. These teams don't like each other. These coaches do not like each other. That's what's going to make tomorrow, I think, a whole lot of fun. All right, and once again, make sure you go to allclemsontigers.com. We're going to have coverage for you all weekend. And don't forget, Monday Live, my man over here, Jason Priester. If folks don't know what Monday Live is, give them a real quick synopsis.
Every Monday, 7 o'clock, right here on our YouTube channel. We let the fans drive the conversation. You get to listen to me talk maybe 5 minutes. After that, it's all you. Where you want to take the show, that's where we go. And I think every question you can throw out there to me.
You think there's going to be a lot of questions this week?
Absolutely. We went 90 minutes strong last Monday. We might go 120 this week.
We'll see how it goes. Make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock on Monday night. And make sure now next week, we're going to be doing the show a little differently. We'll be back here at Magnetic South Brewery in downtown Anderson in 2 weeks to get you ready for the Wake Forest game. But we'll still have the All Clemson Tigers preview show for you coming up next week. But I want to thank the fine folks here at Magnetic South. It's just so much fun to hang out here. Bring the kids. There's stuff to do outside, stuff to do inside. The food, the cold beer, it's all great. And, of course, our good friends over at Hat Flow Co. If you haven't checked them out, go to hatflowco.com and get you one of these. They got them in a whole bunch of different styles. You can put your own logo in there and get them made. And we've got some hats we want to give away today. If you want a Hat Flow Co. hat, come see us here after the show. We got plenty of free swag. Here's some T-shirts for you as well. Thanks again to Magnetic South. For Zach, for Jason, I'm Brad. Thank you so much for watching us today. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy game day in the Valley versus Florida State tomorrow.